All right, check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. I hope you guys are doing well today. Hi, happy Monday. It's me, Sound Engraver. How does my microphone sound to you guys? I can hear me through the headphones actually, so that is good. So, all right, let me just adjust the television. Yeah. And we're gonna be talking about music today because this is primarily a music channel / popular art channel if I feel like it, of course. But yeah, we're going to be talking about soundtracks and really how and why soundtracks for film and for television shows and even for games, even recent games, games, soundtracks of games I've heard, that had been produced, since, I would say the last 10 years, how these sound the same. So thank you. Sound is good. Thank you, Big Al Presents. And I'm so glad you did Afternoons with Al Saturday. I caught the replay, but and I watched all the way through, but I was kind of sad that I missed you live. But hopefully you do another one once in a blue moon, as you said. So let's go ahead and welcome the chat, and then we'll talk about music. And I have my violin, so we'll play some violin as well. So let's welcome the chat. The homogenization of our culture. Hello, Prof, my wonderful Prof. The homogenization of our culture makes it easier to control for propaganda purposes. Can't wait for your wisdom on this, my Tenuviel. Yeah, it'll be fun. It's really nothing. It's for a composer, it really doesn't take much to actually have your music stand out. And I want to tell you what those things are and then give you examples to show you as well. Okay, hello from the future. Hello from the past. I hope you are doing well, Ace. And then we've got Go Team Ghost Planet Forever. Man, I'm still used to the last name that you said. Gigawatt has a question. Is soundtrack sounding the same due to more and more directors and editors using placeholder music and telling the composer to make it sound similar? I wouldn't rule that out as a possibility, but I also think it is just a matter of composition, composition skill, composition technique. Now, obviously the higher ups, the executives, the producers and showrunners could say, hey, we know you're playing and working with these ideas, but we want you to sound like this show too. Sure, I understand. Probably, I don't suppose the same would be true for games. I would say that the composer would pretty much have the full say, especially if they are very well known. But who knows these days? Like, I feel like there's a lot of, higher up, direct control from the higher ups. So it could be a possibility. But what I will be talking about more is not so much, actually, I don't think I'll talk about it at all on the stream. It isn't so much the administration and production of something and the decision making from the executives. Rather, it is I'm going to be discussing music composition, pretty much strictly music composition, which is my specialty, of course. And let's see who else we have. Yeah, I knew Big Al would have a reaction to the Scottish fiddle music, and so it's gonna be 3 Scottish tunes, 3 Scottish fiddle tunes, and then 1 Irish fiddle tune, and I think it'll be fun. Oh, yes, Daniel, I was so busy with recording a promo video. I've just been behind on my YouTube content because I've been busy with another project, and I'll catch that on the replay. Man, I wish I caught this on the replay before my talk. So hopefully, maybe some of our insight and discussion will overlap, but I'll definitely catch your show on the replay sometime this week for sure. And then actually Daniel Heron, because he's definitely more knowledgeable about soundtracks in general. I'm coming from like a music composition perspective. Daniel says to Gigawatt, yes, wanting the score to sound like temp tracks. Now the thing is, I don't understand that logic because temp tracks, as the name implies, is a bit of music. It doesn't have to be high production value. It's just to show people what kind of ideas you're working with. That's it. That's what a temp track should be. And then maybe something a little bit more sophisticated for an orchestra if you are recording. Maybe you're on a time crunch and you got to record with a small ensemble or an orchestra. Maybe you work with a more sophisticated temp track, but no, oh, man. Crazy. Oh, chat jumped. We've got Zootopia. And of course, my prof says, I look and sound great. That's good. I hope my violin looks and sounds great. I warmed up a little bit, but I can't guarantee a perfect performance. And also, I can't guarantee good sound because it's StreamYard. We've got Vessel of Amala. I hope I'm saying Amala right. Hail, everyone. Well, hail to you. And we've got Private Eye. Welcome. And I think that is it. All right. I hope I'm not missing anyone. So we'll see. So anyway, yeah, we'll get right to it. So, well, let's get to Daniel's comment first. I want something amazing but original, but make it sound like just like this Hollywood producer. Yeah, that's that could be a very common sentiment or advice. And actually, the thing is, film. I've spoken about this before from previous experience. A filmmaker, probably more often than not, a filmmaker will say, "Hey, just do you." Like independent filmmakers, like just compose whatever you want to compose. You've got the sensibilities, and then you compose music for them, and it's like, well, I don't want that. So a filmmaker is really very much responsible for being as specific as possible, but not too specific. Like it's like, well, make it sound like Game of Thrones. It's like, no, why would you? D Pensac is in the house. Make it work like the temp track. I don't get it. Yeah, that's like crazy. All right. So we're going to be talking about music composition. So just to give you some context, in the last, I would say in the last 10 years, and I would say going forward into the next 10 years, we're going to be running into films and television series and even games now. We're going to be running into this, whatever's a cinematic experience, we're going to be running into more generic, more vanilla soundtracks. Now, I'll be the first to say some of these soundtracks sound very, very nice. Some of these soundtracks are composed, I would say, well. They're good compositions, but they're not great compositions. They're not something that can really excite the senses. They're not something that is distinguished from anything else. So actually, Jigwa, if you don't mind, I was listening to one of the soundtracks that you recommended me a few days back, and I wanted to get back to you, but I've just been busy. So hopefully you don't mind my saying this now. I think it was for Destiny 2, the game. I don't know anything about this game. It sounds like a first-person shooter or whatever. So I was listening to the music. I was listening to about 10 tracks. I wanted to listen to the whole thing, but I haven't gotten around to listening to the rest of it. But the first 10 or 12 tracks that I was listening to, I would say, yeah, production sounds great. Atmosphere is fine. It's wonderful. It gets you into the mood of the given world. I don't know anything about the game, but I can only imagine it's got like a Halo vibe. Like it's a first-person shooter with some science fantasy elements, or maybe it's dystopian. I don't know. I don't know anything about the story, but it's cinematic and it's really beautiful. Some of the stuff is really beautiful, but if I'm going to be objective as what a good piece of music should be for the soundtrack, I would actually, this might sound harsh, but I would actually give it a 4 out of 10. But I would also give pretty much everything that sounds beautiful and sounds atmospheric a 4 or 5 out of 10. Because if you write a piece of music that is not on its own, that does not stand on its own, that can't be really distinguished from the other thing, even if it's a big thing, even if it's a famous thing, even if that's a wonderful thing, if you can't, distinguish one project from another project, no matter how beautiful the music is, you're writing average music, even if it's beautiful. 4 to 5 out of 10. 40 to 50%. So any composers or musicians who have the dream of composing for a game or a film or a television series, or if you're not a composer or a musician and you are trying to look for good soundtracks for any of these, three medium or media, for any of this media, I should say, grammatically correct. If you're looking for excellent, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 soundtracks, well, you actually have to, as a composer, or you have to look for, you have to kind of seek this out among composers, a few things, a few tips. Now, they're actually pretty basic. They're really, I think I'm thinking of just 3 bullet points in my head. These are very basic, but very fundamental, very musically fundamentally important things in putting in a good score. What goes into a good score? So let me go ahead and say hey also to Avelos. Welcome. And I think that was it for any newcomers. So as a recap, to make your track stand out, to have a 10 out of 10 soundtrack, to make it distinct, distinguish it from another project, from another composer, you have to work with 3 things in your music. The first thing is range. The second thing is length. And then the third thing is rhythm. So we'll start with range, then length, then rhythm. Now, I'm going to be using melody as an example for my Scottish and Irish music that I will be playing, showing you on the fiddle. And just all around, composers. I know I've said this time and time again on my streams. If you guys are listening, I don't know how many of you out there are composers and musicians, but if you come across this video somewhere down the future, I almost publicly harangue the importance of writing a melody. If you do not write melodies for your television show, you're not going to distinguish yourself from the next composer, and you're not going to even distinguish yourself from your past self from a past project. And it's really important, especially if you're working, as a composer, working in music for a completely different story, for a completely different world from another world. For instance, Marvel and Star Wars should not sound the same. So there's that. So what do we do? Well, let's work with melody first. So I'm going to be using examples that are melodies, but using these 3 bullet points: range, length, and rhythm. So let's start with, maybe I should start with length. Yeah, let's start with length. So I'm going to say that again. As composers, what do you need to work with? You need to work with length, range, and rhythm. Let's start with length. I've said this time and time again, that composers do not create long melodies. The shorter you go with your melody, whittling it down to maybe a 4-bar phrase or a 2-bar phrase, you really can't work with something that is memorable because it's not long enough. If you work with like half a phrase or a little motivic gesture, as beautiful as it could be, it can be forgettable, because no matter how much epic percussion you put into it, no matter how good a harmony you put with it, no matter the instruments you work with, between electronic instruments and the full orchestra, or world instruments even, it still won't stand out as its own thing, because everyone else is doing the same thing. Everyone else is using the same orchestration. Everyone else is using the same instruments. Everyone else, believe me, everyone else is using the same epic Hans Zimmer harmony, Everyone's using that. Like, if you go on to some of these, YouTube channels that recreate famous soundtracks, and then it's like the epic version, and it's like, yeah, because you're using the same 4 to 8 chords. Yeah, and it sounds cool. It's like power chords for rock musicians. Yeah, cool. Power chords sound great. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them, but you can't go so far as to create the same epic harmony if you do not have a memorable melody. Melody has to be the thing. Melody is king when having your soundtrack be distinguished from the next project. What makes a good melody? Well, it's length. It's length. So rather than, the composer messing around with like a 2-bar phrase or even a 4-bar phrase, I really would recommend the composer to compose a melody at the minimum of a melody that is 8 bars in length, at the minimum. And the only reason why it should be 4 bars is actually one of the Scottish fiddle tunes that I'm going to be playing. It's a 4-bar. It's got 2 melodies, an A melody and a B melody. The A melody is 4 bars, but the tempo is so slow that it sounds long. It sounds like it sounds like 8 bars, but it's actually 4 bars. But the tempo is so slow. So it has that length. It has that length. So if your music is not at a slow tempo, you really need to start working with melodies that are at least 8 bars in length. And I would even venture to say, go up to 16 bars. Go up to the classic, how the classic composers, the 1830s to the 1880s. Well, actually, probably not 1880s, but I would ballpark it like the 1800s to the 1850s. The classic greats of that time. They worked with very long melodies and memorable melodies. Now, getting into toward the later half of the 1800s, yeah, they worked with very long melodies. And I would say, as cool as Brahms is for his symphonies, his melodies are kind of not forgettable, but they're very lengthy. Well, actually, Tchaikovsky has very lengthy melodies, and they're memorable. So I don't know what it was with Brahms creating the melodies the way he did. I think it's his transitions. Now that I think about it, I think he's very superfluous and he puts a lot of cushion in his transitions. But that's an aside. The whole point is length. Work with length. Work with going longer with your melodies. And I think if you start at the minimum of 8 bars, you're going to have a melody. You're going to have a song. It's going to work. And I think people are going to like it. I think people would distinguish that melody from, oh, here's a little 2-bar epic phrase. It sounds cool. It's very atmospheric. It's very sentimental. It's like, yeah, but you can't really do much with it because actually what I had heard from the Destiny soundtrack was just key shifts, like, because they couldn't really go so far without being too tiresome with the musical material. They changed keys, so whoever was composing it, he or she just changed the keys all the time. I was like, I don't like key changes, especially cheap sounding key changes. Oh, let's get you excited by bumping it up a key. We're going to repeat it for the 4th or 5th time with a key change. We're going to go up so it heightens your expectations and you're anticipating something. It's like, no, I'm just hearing the same thing, just in a different key. I would rather, instead of changing the key, have a really wonderful long melody, add some variation in the orchestration and in the melody itself, and then we should be good to go. So that's the first thing, is length. Just get your melody down and make it long, and I think you'll find that you'll come up with some really nice melodies. All right, so the second thing is range. You need range. So with working with a melody, specifically melody, you need to work with a larger range than what I'm hearing with these soundtracks. So in fact, I might even just demonstrate on the violin. So hopefully you guys can hear this. I'm not guaranteeing good quality sound with StreamYard, but it will at least get the job done. All right, careful. There we go. So let me know if you can hear this. Okay. Oh, I gotta scooch so you can see my hand. Wait, no, that's it. That's the wrong way. That's the right way. Okay. Is that fine? Can you hear that okay? Did the audio cut out? Because I could probably fix it if it did. And I know a couple other options too. So just confirm if you can hear that. Okay, sounds good. Yes, good. Thank you, Go Team Ghost Planet. So when talking about range, what are the limits of your instrument? Every instrument has a different range, but I would say you can work with at least, as far as the whole range of an instrument, this actually is up to 4.5 to 5 octaves, depending on how good you are as a musician. So we have our lowest note here. We got 2 octaves up here. I don't like that. I can't see my hand. Am I going the right way? Let me just. All right. Well, you can see some of my hand. So I'm so crowded. Whatever. So that's 2 octaves. So we've got 1 octave. Octave is, as the name implies, it's 8 steps. Like that. And then go up another octave. And that's 2 octaves. And then that's 3 octaves. Now, I did say 4.5 octaves. But there's a higher G as well. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, it's there. I haven't practiced really that high today, so I'm not going to play it. But the point is, we have a huge range. We have 4 octaves, okay? Well over, 30 notes of working out a good melody. Now, I would say for a melody in general, just a melody for a person to sing or for an instrumentalist to play. And I really would recommend exceeding the first octave. So we have the first octave. We'll start with the G string. Or maybe a D string. Let's see. I'm gonna sit back. Yeah. Yeah, that's a better register anyway. So the generic vanilla tactic is to not exceed the octave at all. In fact, not even really exceed like a 6th above the first note. So we've got D, and then not exceed like a B. So like. I would actually recommend, going up a 9th or going up, an octave plus a 5th, And then going down a 5th. So really, I would have the melody, maybe in the key of D. Maybe you have a melody in the key of D, and then you have, and then a low note, sol, do. And then you have sol, do, high. So with that new range, 2 octaves, you have all these notes in between. Oh, we're not in A major. I'm playing D major. And then you have the chromatic notes in between. So you have so many notes to work with for that melody. So composers of gaming, like the game soundtracks that I've heard, the TV series, even film soundtracks, they're not even working with melody with a lot of length. And then even if they are, they're working with a very limited range, nothing exceeding an octave. Now, if I teach a composition student, I'll recommend first that they write out a melody that doesn't go higher than an octave. But for the more sophisticated composers, I would recommend at least a fifth above or a fifth below the general octave. So that's range. So first we have length, have an 8-bar melody, maybe a couple 8-bar melodies, and then range, have your instrumentalists and vocalists use their range, don't be afraid. Actually, something that I do with fiddle pieces or popular pieces, like something out of what am I thinking of? Like Autumn Leaves, for instance. I'll play it in the low octave, and then I'll ascend to the higher octave, and then I'll recap in the low octave again. So yeah, just work with range. Composers really need to have the musicians explore their melodies, with range. So length and range. The next thing is rhythm. So that's the final thing I'm going to talk about. Rhythm, 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 rhythm. Dang it. So I was on Twitter, and someone I follow who does a lot of game music content, they're like, "Oh, look at this orchestra recording the game music." And I don't know what game it's for, but it's for a new independent, developer. And then you see this huge, beautiful, maybe it's a church or a cathedral, and then you see a beautiful, 40-piece string ensemble, and then they're just basically doing this. So the thing with string instruments, for instance, I can sustain indefinitely. All that changes is the change of the bow, right? So I can play for many minutes until my arms get really, really tired. Whereas, with things like a piano, for instance, you press it, it doesn't sustain. There are techniques to lengthen the note, but the decay is there. I don't have a decay as long as the drag of the bow keeps moving back and forth. So, well, what does that mean? Well, composers take that as an opportunity. Let me actually speak a little closer to the mic. Composers take that as an opportunity to have beautiful swelling chords. And it's choral, it's gorgeous, it's ethereal, but there's no rhythm. It's atmospheric, it's lovely, but there's no rhythm. It can be the most beautiful heavenly thing, but where's the rhythm? There's nothing wrong with chords sustaining for lengths of time. There's nothing wrong with a choir and a string ensemble, and maybe even a brass ensemble, or a whole orchestra doing the same beautiful chords. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm not saying you can't swell and recede. There's room for that, but I do hear that more often than playing with rhythm. One thing that makes Superman, the John Williams theme, so impactful is the dotted rhythm. Da 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 da. I can't. Is it double tugging? I'm not sure what the. Let's see. How do I bow that? So it's that. Like, I hope that came in just fine. One, and a two, and a one, and a triple that. Dun, 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 dun. Actually, that's now that I think about it, that's not a dotted rhythm. That's just 8ths with 16th notes. But then you have one, a two, a three, a four, kind of like the march, and then 1 in, 2 in, 3 in, 4 in. Or you could just do simple even subdivision, 1 and 2 in, 3, a 4 in, 1 and 2 in, 3, a forehand. I mean, just work in the dotted rhythm with the subdivision, and you're going to have something more impactful. Put that in a melody, insert that kind of rhythm in a melody. Doesn't have to be the only kind, but put something in there without just like strings swelling all the time. We have, strings have legato. Or we have, staccato. We have spiccato, and I am out of practice on my spiccato, and this isn't the best bow, but it's bouncing. There. Okay. So we have different styles with our bow that we can actually work with different rhythm. Now, I will say, I'm going to say this right up front. Now we have something like dun 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 dun, like that's fine, and that's good. That's good. That's a good intro into the main Superman theme, for instance. What I do here with composers is too much of the same ostinato rhythm in the string section, where strings really should be more melodious. Or actually, again, I'm thinking about the Destiny soundtrack, where everything is uniform. All the brass instruments are playing the same rhythm as the strings. All the strings are playing the same rhythm without any rhythmic counterpoint, any back and forth between weaving in and out in a more complex, intricate way. It's all just the same. And actually, it's kind of Hans Zimmer and Batman Begins. Let's see if I. So boring. It's so boring. And then you have the French horn. Like that. Boring. Whereas I would rather play. Okay, I'm out of practice, guys. So this is a hard one, but it's kind of fun. I'd have to practice more. But no, I know it's much faster than that, but I really am out of practice. I can't remember when the last time I played that. But that's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun than just ducka 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 ducka. So with Hans Zimmer with Pirates of the Caribbean, he actually adds a lot more syncopation. And then that's not the whole thing. He doesn't stay there. He actually goes into a newer melody. I would say it's really the first complete melody, but I would say it's a separate melody as well. I would probably play it an octave higher. Oh yeah, it's okay. I remember. I think I remember. Oops. Oh, I forgot it now. Sorry. Probably shouldn't play it anyway because it might be copyright thing. Anyway, so what was I saying? So add, incorporate a lot of more engaging rhythm in your melody. And I think once you have that, then everything else will fall into place. You'll have your harmony, even if you use the same harmony, will be a lot more impactful. You can do anything with the percussion section, and it'll be a lot more impactful if you have a general length, a really big range, at least an octave. That's not really a big range, but more range than just an octave. Really start at the minimum of an octave plus a fifth or 2 octaves. And then lastly, rhythm. Just add more rhythm. If it's just a subdivision, so maybe, just quarter notes. Like just add more stuff. Just add more rhythm. Yeah, so that's what I have to say. So as just a recap, your music will be much more distinguished from everything else, if your melody is at the minimum of 8 bars in length, if you have a range of 2 octaves, and then if you have all kinds of rhythm incorporated, and that's what I'm going to say. Now, I'm actually going to use examples. We're going to use some concrete examples. So I will play the fiddle tunes in just a second to give you some ideas of what is memorable. But let's go ahead and check out the chat. Let's see what you guys are saying real quick. And let me go ahead and also drink some water. All right. Okay. So Gigawatt confirms it's science fantasy. I thought it was. It does sound like that. Okay. Actually, you know what? I will say I have heard of the soundtracks. You know what? I know nothing about the game. I know nothing about the story, but I have heard that Nier, is that how you pronounce it? That's a really good soundtrack. That is beautifully done. I would, let me just say very carefully that really what suffers the vanilla generic feel is film and television. I just would say if games aren't careful, they'll fall into the same trap, especially if they're working with cinematic orchestration. Gigawatt says, it does suffer from not having an overall theme. Well, it has a theme that's really emotive. Like it's got this call. It's got a theme, like a musical reminder, but it's not more than, I'd have to go back and check, but it's not more than 2 bars in length. So it needs a greater length. Hans Zimmer has harmony. Well, I would say he has harmony that are the same chords. Now, I would say his Lion King soundtrack is awesome. And his Pirates of the Caribbean is awesome. Even when I was a stuck-up college student thinking like my music was above all the mainstream stuff, if someone asked me, well, what do you think of Pirates of the Caribbean? I probably would look, both ways and say, I think it's kind of great. So good. Thank you, Go Team Ghost. Well, we're going to hear some good music. Well, hopefully. Again, I'm a little out of practice, but that's okay. I hope you can hear it. I might even set the audio settings a little bit differently. Anna says, what about Zimmer's Dune? I will say it's interesting and experimental, but he writes more now for the experience of the film going. He writes more for the film going experience, meaning he's writing music that is meant to be simultaneously received, like as input, audible input or auditory input as the visual input. He's going for the more immersive experience, which there's nothing wrong with that, but standing on its own, no. It's fine, it's atmospheric, but it's not anything epic. I know. It's probably controversial to say that. And as you say, it's like, wasn't it great? I'm like, well, it's okay. It's okay. Final Fantasy is in here. Good. All right. So let's play. Well, let me get my stand real quick. And you know what, guys? I'll probably, and if you guys are curious about what the names of these pieces are, you can go ahead and just put it in the comments below, on the replay. Say, hey, what piece is that that you're playing? I'm actually not going to announce what it is because it could be a copyright thing. And I don't think these things are popular. The Scottish titles are actually kind of funny. There's one of them, I'm not playing this one, but one of them is they're long. These Scottish titles are usually quite long. What was a good one? Oh, well, can't find it right now. Anyway, so I will be playing the first one. And when talking about length, think also form. So, some people say, oh, well, I have to have just one melody. It's actually not true. You can have 2 melodies. For instance, following the A-B form, you can have it like a 2-parter, like here's an A melody, here's a B melody. Here's the A and B melody and a recap of the A melody. I would say work with 2 melodies. You know, Superman, the Superman theme works with 3 melodies, okay? So John Williams didn't hold back, so why should you? So this Scottish number that I'm about to play is that there is an A melody, and this is actually quite common for the slower Scottish fiddle tunes. There's an A melody and there's a B melody. Now the A melody is 4 bars repeated, and then the B melody is 8 bars. So it is equal in length, and it is slow, so it's not going to feel like 4 bars. So let's see if you guys can. I think I could. Yeah, I can see the music from here, and see if you can see that. All right, so hopefully you can see this. So this is the first one, a slower piece. So think about, you know, if you want to write a music for like a like a medieval setting, don't do the standard, you know, whatever's generic for medieval music now. So just think length and good to go. Think of yourself sitting on the hill, or overlooking a marsh, or overlooking the banks of the rivers in Scotland. And actually, there's the word boat in this title. So here's the first melody. And then also hear the different rhythms I'm playing and embellishments I'm playing as well. So 2 long melodies in one song. So, and actually, I repeated the B melody, which was 8 bars, so it had a little bit more length. But you're working with different rhythm. Let's actually start with length. Okay, so we've got 2 melodies. Each melody is 8 bars in length. So A melody is 4 bars repeated, and B melody is 8 bars not repeated, even though I did. So that's a really nice length. You know, and it can be memorable, you know, if you play the game long enough, or if you watch the television show long enough, you know. And then range. Okay, so what's the range? Well, my lowest note in this song is open D, or I start on an open D. It's the D above middle C. And then it's B above a couple octaves higher. It's not 1 octave. It's not exactly 2 octaves. It's just right below that 2 octave range. So it's got a huge range, you know, for a melody. So that's what makes it, you know, if you heard that melody in a game, that would be that game signature. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm on the riverbanks, somewhere in, you know, uh, I would say 1300. No, probably not 1300s. I don't know. I'm gonna guess maybe 1600s Scotland or whatever. So that's the first melody, and I'm just gonna play a follow up melody that maybe is not in a major key. So we were just in a major key. Now we're gonna play in a more sober way by using a minor key, and I'm only going to be playing one melody. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars in length, plus a repeat. I might not repeat, we'll see. So a little more somber, a little bit more solemn, and actually just to kind of add some more volume, I'm playing it more like a classical musician, not so much as a fiddler. Sadly, this violin isn't really a fiddle instrument, or fiddle, I should say. But that's that. So what's the range? Or actually, we just discussed length. So this melody is 8 bars in length. It had a good length. What's the range? Well, my lowest note is E here. And then with a little bit of a trill here, that's A. So it's above 1 octave and then up a fourth. So it still has some good range. Then you have, straight subdivision like so. You can actually change that to, long, short, long, like that. You go from even subdivisions like this. So it's even and then long, short, long. A little bit of not so symmetrical. So you're changing the rhythm, from something even to something like long, short, long, da da da. And actually, the beginning, the first melody that I showed you included not just eighth notes. It actually included a triplet, which is 3 notes equidistant inside a beat, which is a different variation of a rhythm. It could have been, and then we have 16 notes as well. Well, this is it without the embellishments. So anyway, just working with different rhythm. All right, so a couple more. We have a very nice piece here. And again, if you wanted to know the title of the songs, on the replay, just go ahead and put it in the comments. What was the first song? What was the second song? Or I'll just drop the list, not in the description, just I'll put it in a comment. So I'm going to play this next one. It's an A-B form. So we have an A melody for 8 bars, and then we have a B melody for 8 bars. I might actually play it like an A-A-B-A form, where I'm repeating the first melody, doing the B melody, and then recapping on the A melody. I might do that. Excuse me. I like it better like that. I'm going to start out slow because it has just a kind of nice 1, a 2, a 3, a 4 kind of feel. So here it is. And then if I feel like this is kind of a limited chair, I might try to play it a little faster too. Thanks, Big Al. I told myself I'd play it slow, but I didn't. Oh well. So that was the A melody. That was actually the A melody repeated. And then this is the B melody. Let's see if I can remember that rhythm. 3. Like that. All right, let's see how the Wi-Fi is doing. So a lot of length, which is great. And actually, you can play it slow too. It's supposed to be like a dance speed, but a lot of great. So 8-bar A melody, 8-bar B melody. Maybe repeat the A melody, and then the B melody one time before recap, a recapitulation of the A. So a lot of length, but that kind of sounds like something you'd have in a tavern, like maybe a specific character owns a tavern and that's their theme, or that's the theme of the tavern. Lots of good rhythm. Well, actually, no. Well, we got to go in order. So length, got a great 2 8-bar melodies. And then range. What's the range? Range is good. Range is good. You have our lowest note is here, which is a low A below middle C. And then you have a B up here. So you have 2 octaves plus a step higher than that. So you have a huge range, and that's going to make your melody distinct, distinguish that melody for, distinguish, I say. It's going to distinguish your melody from other stuff. The other thing too is it's got a characteristic I really like. It's almost like a slam into the low note. So you have a little pickup, and then you're just gonna. Actually, I didn't play it like that, but you go from kind of a quick kata, like taka, like that. So you're kind of slapping it because it's actually hard to play. You're kind of catching the bow like that, and it's really fun. It's really fun. And then you have little licks. You have little grace notes. I forgot how to play it. Well, now I have to complete it. So one second, bear with me, and then we'll go to the last one. So like that. All right. So hopefully that sounds fine on StreamYard. Sounds much better in this room. And then actually, so those were the first 3 Scottish pieces. And then a nice Irish piece. That's actually, I play it in a very slow way. But again, if you learned the title and you went up on YouTube to find it, actually, it's probably okay to say it. My Star of County Down. I think it's like a love song about a brunette, an Irish lady brunette, and I think it's called Star of My County Down, or Star of the County Down. And it's usually an upbeat piece, but I actually like it as a slow piece. So length, I think it's 2 melodies, and I think it's an A melody. Oh, yeah, it's an A melody of 8 bars, and then a B melody of 4 bars, but with a recap, a second concluding phrase that's 4 bars. That's the A melody, if I have that right. So let me play one more, and then I'll put my violin away. Yeah, actually, I probably should put my violin away. And then we can talk about it or talk about other stuff. But hopefully that makes more sense. So here is this slower melody. I like to play it slow. And that is it. So so what I did actually to make it longer was to go up 1 octave, and then actually just the A melody of 1 octave, and then carry it back down. That B melody, carry it back down an octave. So, I'm going to pack up my violin because it needs to be in the case, because it's actually kind of hot in here. Ugh. It's kind of hot and humid in here. So those were my examples. And that's really it. That's really how you make your music distinguished from all the rest. Having a simple melody like that last thing that I had. And I haven't seen any comments, so hopefully I'm still on. But have a melody like that last one, the Star of the County Down, and then work with percussion or meter or variation, all that good stuff, and you'll have your own music. So anyway, so anyone in? Okay. Chickwatt's like, you're still streaming. All right, one sec. All right. So hopefully you guys like that. We'll see how that sound is. I didn't bother checking the settings, but hopefully it was good. Yeah. I knew Big Al liked the Scottish Irish stuff. He says, feel like I'm at a pub with a pint and enjoying the music. Yeah. And I hope to do more. Actually, there's like 60 Scottish tunes in that book that I was reading out of. And so it's really good. So that's basically it for me, what I had to say. I guess we could recap. Okay, so composers, if you don't want your music sounding generic or vanilla, work with length, lengthen your melodies, lengthen your phrases, work with range, expand the octave, to, expand the music from 1 octave to 2 octaves, even more, more than 2 octaves, it's fine. Even with singers, I think you can, if you want something adventurous and something memorable, even with like a singer, you can, for a professional singer, you can work with 2 octaves. It'd be interesting. Go Team Ghost Planet, we're not going yet. So that is the second one, range. Work with range, and then work with rhythm. I mean, it's not enough to just swell and recede. Hans Zimmer, come on, man. You did so well with Lion King, and you did so well with Pirates of the Caribbean. And people who might hear me for the first time say that about Hans Zimmer, she might think, you might think like, well, she doesn't like the experimental stuff. It's like, I compose experimental electronic music. I got to go back to SuperCollider and do some more granular synthesis, for instance. But yeah, just anyway, that was kind of a sidebar. But I think game composers and film composers have this tendency of using the strings and just sustain and not anything melodic or rhythmic, or if it is rhythmic, it's just imitating the percussion or the brass section. And it's like, come on, have some counterpoint. I guess counterpoint would be another one that you should work with. Counterpoint, don't have everything homogeneous. Don't play in a homophonic way. Don't play the same rhythm in a harmony, for instance. Don't play everything. Don't have all the instruments play the melody. Have a little counterpoint. And I would say, just kind of as a bonus tip, to make it really fun and exciting, to make your melody really stand out, is make it fun for the musicians. Pirates of the Caribbean is fun to play. It's fun to play. So make it enjoyable for musicians. Now they're going to be professional, and they're going to play whatever they're hired to play. But like you'll hear the energy when it's something that is enjoyable to play or fun to play. So that would be my bonus one. So anyway, hopefully they're very simple tricks. They're very very fundamental, basic fundamental things to think as a composer. Okay, how can I stand out? How can my music stand out? How can this game sound different from every other game? How can this TV series sound different from the formulaic TV series? So work with that. Work with that. Can these expansions of melody and length work for games where the music is dynamically changing due to the player's actions? Now, I think you raise a really good point that the music will be restricted to the gameplay, obviously. But a lot of the games now have cinematic scenes, so you can work with that and treat it like a film score. I think music can work dynamically. I think it can dynamically change depending on where the gamer is, or the player rather, what the player is doing. In fact, I mean, you kind of see that anyway. Like, like a very simple example is battle music versus the world music. Like when you enter a battle, the music is going to change to be the battle music. When you enter a world, it's going to be the world music, or the area, the location. Maybe talking to a prominent character will have a theme, or a musical gesture, and then every time you talk to that character, that theme is going to pop up in a kind of a seamless way. So yeah, there's interesting things to explore. I don't think game composers, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about this, but I don't think game composers should fear that kind of limitation should make their music go shorter. That their music should go smaller because of that. No, I think expansion is still pretty important. All right. So, anything else? We're just at the hour mark. That went by pretty fast. What else can I think of? Well, I can't think of anything else. If you guys had any questions, next week, I'm not announcing because we're leaving, but if the chat is slow and I have nothing else to say, we'll definitely end. But next week I should be getting the second book of the Asimov series this Wednesday in the mail. I'm excited about that. Next week I'll be talking about Asimov. I'd like to get back into talking about science fiction. I think science fiction is really important. Um, I think the culture today really has a bad view of science fiction. I'm not talking about the general populace. I'm actually talking about people who win these awards and stuff like that. It's like, but your writing is terrible or something like that. I think current science fiction that's being published, at least in the famous magazines like Analog and Asimov, it's just it it's kind of watered down to just badly constructed stories with characters you really shouldn't care about and stuff like that. And I think there should be, kind of like what I've been saying with independent art. I think there should be a renaissance with science fiction. Now, I say that, and I'm talking about Asimov, but I really want to talk about what his story, the foundation, how is it inspiring for modern day writers, and what you can learn as a science fiction writer or just as a writer of any kind. But yeah. Uh, this is my shirt. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'm his groupie. I'm probably his one and only groupie. It's actually a woman's shirt, so it fits a woman. I don't think it would fit a man, maybe a type of man. It's actually the most comfortable shirt. It's my most comfortable T-shirt. It's a great T-shirt. It's very good quality, and it was the most comfortable shirt to play in tonight. To play my violin. So yeah, and I love the font. The font's great. It's great. See, it's awesome. It's really comfortable, and it looks great. Prof, are you still selling those T-shirts, or did you take down the merchandise? I can't remember. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Going into next week. Yeah, we're going to talk about some Asimov, and some really good things that science fiction writers of today need to know. Just general things, just things that I picked up on reading a very enjoyable book, Foundation. Oh, okay. So the prof is double checking. I'll enable the merch if it is disabled. So yeah, I mean this, at least the quality that I got was good. I've had this for over a year now, and it's really tough. It breathes easy. It's if it's a hot day, it's a very comfortable shirt to wear on a hot day. So yeah, if he has merchandise, it's definitely worth the purchase. And it's great. Look at the font. It's awesome. It is actually one of my favorite shirts, and not because it has Professor Geek's name on it, even though that is a huge bonus for me. So into this next week from my channel, look for another music fundamentals video where I will be teaching you how to learn your key signatures. It is a promo video, so it's got about like a 50-60 second promo video for DistroKid, but it's actually going to be a lecture. This was a big one. It was a bigger one than I thought. I've recorded a lot of different clips that I'm going to edit and put together, and it's going to show you how to learn the key signatures. It is a lecture though. I didn't intend it to be a lecture, but you got to think of it as like a 45 minute lecture. It might be even longer than that, but I'm going to try to like pare it down. Like, I hope it's not more than 35 minutes, but we'll see. We'll see. But you're going to learn your key signatures, and I'll show you how to do that. And then so I do have some stuff to say from previous streams concerning Star Wars. I actually, not Star Wars. Well, yeah, a little bit of Star Wars. Sometime probably between Wednesday and the weekend, if I have time. That's the key thing. I actually might do a separate video. It'd be pre-recorded. It wouldn't be a streaming video, but I might do a separate video on the two tiers of modern writing. There is there's a pattern we're seeing today with writing, modern writing and popular art that I think people are I feel like they're becoming aware of, but I feel like they're not quite there. I feel like they need to be a little bit more alert. Just a little bit of a tease. Um, uh, two things to expect with modern writing going forward with popular art. First thing is thank you, Gigawatt. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about Asimov too, because science fiction is important and I love it. I love science fiction. So the thing to look for with modern writing is two things. It's going to be either one or the other. If people are seeing ridiculously stupid things in writing, if things are ridiculously terrible, it's not done by accident, it's done on purpose, and people need to see that, and it's kind of getting tired, like, how is this made? This is so terrible. It's like they're doing it on purpose, guys. And that's parody. That's a kind of parody writing where you think you're going into seeing something serious, but it's actually a parody of something. Like, I think it was David Stewart back in the day when he was describing The Rise of Skywalker as a parody of Star Wars. Kenobi is the same, guys. It's like, from what I'm hearing, how people are so mad at ridiculous decisions in the writing. It's like, guys, this is parody. A parody is meant to exaggerate something for a comedic effect, and everything seems to be quite exaggerated with Kenobi. Now, I'm not going to use. Maybe I might use recent examples like Kenobi as an example, but I might not. That's the first thing that's the first kind of writing. That is the first kind of modern day writing. Is, oh, it's a parody. It's not supposed to be serious. They don't think it's serious. They don't treat it seriously, even though Star Wars should be a serious thing. Like, yeah, it can have comedy and it can have levity, but it needs to be serious too. And it can't be parody. Star Wars can't be a parody. It's not a parody of itself, especially. Like, you could have, like, didn't Family Guy do something back in the day? Yeah, now Disney's doing it, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is the writing will be terrible. The modern day writing will be terrible, but it will be subtle with things like the Ahsoka series. People will be so tired of the crud that happened with the Book of Boba Fett and then also with Kenobi. They'll be so like, oh, that was awful. Oh, the Ahsoka series is amazing. Well, it's actually going to be terrible writing because they don't know how to write. But compared to the parody writing, it's going to look decent. And so I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more. So that's just a tease for that. Oh, dude. Yeah, exactly. Halo TV is a good example of parody. I'm not touching the Asimov series. Like, I have a very specific world in my mind with the Asimov books, and I don't even want to know. Like, and they did say, the creators did say it's a loose adaptation or loosely adapted, and I'm like, yeah, because it kind of looks like that. That will be my next stream. Yeah, so Asimov. Now, actually, yeah, I might as well just kind of tease the following stream. 2 weeks from now. I want to talk to you guys about the dulling of the sense. Let me say that right. I want to talk to you about the dulling of the senses. The dulling of the senses. I'm seeing things that really shouldn't be passed. That shouldn't be greenlit for things. And the Asimov series is one of them. Not so much the show, because I don't know anything about the show, but I'll show you some examples. I'll show you some examples of what I mean about the dulling of the senses. We're being constantly inundated and placated with all this stuff, all this sensory input, that we're not even understanding the difference of things and the distinction of things. I'll give you another tease. I was looking for the Asimov books. Actually, I'll show you the one that I have right now. One second. All right, so I'm going to show you guys this. Final Fantasy fan, if I hadn't said hi to you, hi. I'm going to show you this when I talk about it in a couple of weeks on my stream. But okay, so this is Isaac Asimov Foundation. Okay, take a look. As best as you can, take a look at the color. Take a look at the illustration inside. I know it's kind of blaring, but there we go. This has a very distinct look and feel. We've got color contrast with the orange and then the blue and the purple. We've got like a central figure, even though he's kind of in a window, you know. But it's got good contrast. It's got like it's got a good font. Excuse me, a font to it. Let's see. I know it's kind of glaring. That does bother me a little bit, but oh well. And then you've got the back like a red and an orange there. But so the next one I think is like green and blue. The colors aren't my favorite, but the colors pop out. Okay, like this has a little bit of a old world, like an old science fiction feel to it, like science fiction of the 60s. Not quite the feel of science fiction in the 60s, even though this was written, you know, around that time. I think, when was this? Was it in the 50s? I can't remember. Oh man, 1951? Is that right? Okay, so kind of think of the 50s. This really isn't a 50s sci-fi look, but at least it looks science fiction, okay? I'm going to show you that Amazon and I think Amazon, that's it. Or Apple TV or whatever streaming the television series is on. So they're selling books because the TV show is out. So they're selling more, you know, book series of Asimov. There are 7 books. We've got Prelude to the Foundation, Prelude to Foundation, Foundation and Empire, Second Foundation, Foundation's Edge, Foundation and Earth, Forward the Foundation. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 books. I've read 4 of them, 4 of the 7. So I'm gonna collect the books one by one as I buy them off of eBay. But anyway, there's this there are these book covers for the television show, and it's bad. It's bad. 2 reasons. Well, no, I'm just gonna say the first reason, and I'm gonna say it for now, and then we'll describe it in more detail later. The book covers are, you can't distinguish science fiction from fantasy. These book covers look almost too close to the Lord of the Rings extended DVD package, like the dark muted blue and green and red. It looks like fantasy. Now it's got some little dots to make it look science fiction. It's got like these science fiction-y designs on it and little beaded designs in the muted colors. So like, no, this is science fiction. Looks like fantasy. You know, it doesn't look like contrast, like color contrast, shapes, images, like no more than 4 colors really, or 5 colors here. But every color is, you know, has some contrast with another color. Contrast is key. Contrast and even saturation is key with science fiction. And this Apple series for the Asimov Foundation series, the book series, it looks like Lord of the Rings. It looks fantasy, and there's no central figure, there's no image, there's no color contrast. It looks so generically fantasy. It's not fantasy. It's science fiction. And then the other thing too is Bear McCreary did the soundtrack for the Foundation series, and he's a wonderful composer. He's such a good composer. I like him a lot. He worked. He did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the show. I love everything about it, and I love the music. But even with him, as great as his music is, it's good. I'm not saying it's not good. It's very, very good, but it sounds really no different from kind of a hyper extensive world of Harry Potter. Like, it sounds like fantasy. It sounds like Harry Potter 30 years from now, you know? And that's what I mean by dulling of the senses. we're blending in things. You know, I know science fiction and fantasy, I know they've always been in the same row of shelves in the bookstore, in the library, whatever. I never liked that idea, but you still need to understand the distinction of science fiction and fantasy. You can have science fantasy, you can have speculative fiction. I mean, of course you can cross over, you can creatively blend the genres, but but when you're actually seeing something like Asimov look like Lord of the Rings as far as a book cover, no. Or when you're hearing a soundtrack that sounds like Harry Potter and not Asimov's Foundation. No, no. And even things that are well done and even things that look pretty and sound pretty, they're slowly dulling our senses. They're slowly dulling our senses to have us not distinguish the color red from the color blue. Okay? Science fiction from fantasy. Something like that. Whether it's the music, the book cover design, the overall feel of something. Foundation should not sound like Harry Potter. It should not sound like the DCEU. It shouldn't sound like anything except Foundation. It shouldn't sound like Star Wars. You know, it shouldn't sound like Ender's Game. You know, it should sound distinctly like Asimov's Foundation, and it doesn't. As good as the music score is, it doesn't. So anyway, that's my stream. That's that's a long teaser of my stream I'm thinking about a couple weeks from now. But we'll talk about Asimov next week. Let's see what you guys have to say. I think I said Apple. When I thought Amazon, I was thinking the books being sold on Amazon. Yeah. Their parody is written like an episode of Friends where they all just riff on each other, on each. Oops, excuse me. I think I just like popped a zit. On that note, yeah, I have a little zit on my chin, and I was just messing with it on stream in public. That's embarrassing. Ugh. I better wash my face after this. So anyway, yeah, it should be fun. So for the Professor Geek channel, look forward to a video I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Are you releasing that tomorrow or Wednesday, Prof? On Dave Filoni, and really his confiscating the EU. He says he loves the EU, but he's actually taken ideas and then just like he's actually, with his show and his writing, he's made EU canon very difficult, not palpable at all. Like there's a lot of things that he has broken in the EU canon. I think he's even at one point broken his own canon of stories. Or no, I don't know. Like anyway, there are some good videos out there that tell you how Dave Filoni. I should call him. I have two names for him. No, that's a fan man ploy tactic. What would Superman do? He would not troll. What would Jesus do? He would not troll. But I have good names for Dave Filoni. I'll just put it in because I feel like I don't want to be a troll, but I can't even spell. I can't spell that. Okay, never mind. I'll think about my actions. So you'll have to wait. One person, I did see one person. I shouldn't. No. I was respectful for Kathleen Kennedy. I should be the same for Dave Filoni. Anyway, so Prof has got a video on that coming today or tomorrow or Wednesday on that. And then the book study tomorrow. So with him and Big Al Presents, he's doing Shatterpoint with the character Mace Windu. So that is pretty cool. And then Big Al with his reviews and rewatches and rambles and maybe afternoons with Al, depending on if he feels like it. Okay, Prof. I did stop myself though. Like I did. I was tempted. I'm like, no. Stop channeling Fan Man. You are better than that. Yep. So, so Shatterpoint book study tomorrow. Probably at 9:30. Probably 9:30 because I actually don't go home. I don't get home from teaching until like 9 or something. So I want to be there for that. And I think that's it. So anyway, I would say thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And until I see you next, keep producing and preserving and promoting the art you love. And I will catch you later. Bye.